I'm gonna fight the deadliest animal in the world. It kills more people than every other animal on earth combined. About 1 million of us every year. And by the end of this video, I'm gonna spend nearly 2 lakh rupees to protect nearly 2,000 people from it, using a weapon that costs exactly 190 rupees. Picture the deadliest animal on earth. What comes to your mind first? A shark? A lion? A grizzly bear? Hollywood has wired us to fear the wrong things. Sharks kill maybe 6 people a year, lions around 200, neither one even cracks the top 50. The real list is completely backwards. Number 5, the freshwater snail. It doesn't bite, it just sits in rivers, releasing microscopic parasites that kill about 20,000 people every year. Number 4, man's best friend. Dogs kill roughly 60,000 people a year, almost all of it by passing on rabies. Number 3, snakes. Over 100,000 deaths a year, usually when we step somewhere we shouldn't have. And number 2 is the one we try not to think about. It's us. And that's the hardest one to say out loud. Because every other animal on this list kills by accident or to survive. We are the only ones who do it on purpose. 400,000 lives ended by other humans every single year through violence, murder, and war. And number 1, the animal that kills more than every other animal on this list put together, the mosquito. And that's the animal I'm gonna fight today. But I'm not gonna do it with a $1 billion laser or a giant medical lab. I'm doing it with a weapon that costs just 190 rupees. And I'm gonna fund more than 1,000 of them. But here's the craziest part. The mosquito doesn't even mean to kill anyone. Only the females bite and they just need a tiny drop of blood to grow their eggs. But when they drink, they act as a public transport for microscopic assassins. Mosquitoes kill almost 2 people every minute. Dengue makes up about 4% of those deaths, yellow fever another 3. West Nile, Zika, chikungunya, lymphatic filariasis fight over the margins. The overwhelming majority, around 60% of every mosquito death on earth, comes from just one single disease, malaria. According to the WHO's 2025 World Malaria Report, in 2024 alone, malaria caused nearly 282 million cases and 610,000 deaths. 75% of those deaths were children under the age of 5. That's a child dying every single minute. But to understand why this disease is such a nightmare, you'll have to see exactly what happens the second that mosquito bites. Here's something most people don't know. Mosquitoes are mostly vegetarian. They live on flower nectar and plant sap. The only reason the female bites you is the protein in your blood. She needs it for her eggs. But when an infected one drinks, it injects parasites called sporozoites into your bloodstream. What happens next is one of the most brutal invasions in all of biology. The parasites hide inside your liver, using your own cells to become completely invisible. You feel nothing when it silently multiplies. Then it bursts out and invades your red blood cells. Your immune system tries to fight back, but the parasite is a shapeshifter. It changes its disguise and slips away. As it multiplies, the hijacked cells explode, dumping violent toxins into your bloodstream. The human toll is devastating. It starts with violent fevers, chills, and vomiting. Left untreated, the deadliest strain can take you from sick to dead within 24 hours. Because the infected cells turn sticky, they can clog the vessels feeding into your brain, cutting off oxygen, triggering convulsions, coma, and organ failure. And the most heartbreaking part, the ones who suffer the worst of it are almost always children under the age of 5. So how do you stop a shape-shifting parasite that's been killing us since the Roman Empire? After the Second World War, America and Europe wiped out malaria completely by drenching millions of homes in a chemical called DDT. It worked. It was also super toxic that we had to ban. And while we are working on vaccines, the parasite evolved so fast that the ones we have only offer partial protection. So to beat it, you have to cut the transmission entirely. You have to stop the mosquito from ever landing on a human in the first place. Which brings us to my weapon of choice. This is a long-lasting insecticidal net. It costs exactly 190 rupees or $2. It looks like the most boring object in this entire story, okay? But it's actually a highly engineered dual threat weapon. Remember how the parasite survives by using our liver as an invisibility cloak, hiding from your immune system? This net is how we hand the invisible cloak back to the humans. When a child sleeps under it, it's a physical wall. The mosquito can't even reach them. But it doesn't just block. The mesh is bound with a slow-release insecticide, a chemical trap. The moment a mosquito lands on it, trying to find a way in, it dies. It's a brilliantly simple solution. But before I give a single rupee, I need to know exactly who's handling my money. And I need proof that it actually reaches the people who need it. Which brings me to the people I'm backing today, the Against Malaria Foundation. the AMF. AMF does exactly one thing. They protect people from malaria by funding these exact nets. And they run with a level of radical transparency you almost never see. Because their overhead is covered separately, 100% of your public donation goes directly into funding these nets. Not 90, not 95. Every single rupee goes towards procuring and distributing these nets. And they don't just drop the nets at the border and walk away. They track distributions down to the household level, they collect digital registration data, they add photos and videos, and they send independent monitors back at 9, 18 and 27 months to physically check whether the nets are still hanging, whether they have got holes, and whether they're actually being used. And they track the malaria case data to prove the nets are working. The scale of it is staggering. To date, AMF has funded more than 370 million nets, protecting over 660 million people across the world's hardest hit regions. That obsession with proof is exactly why independent evaluators like GiveWell have rated AMF a top tier charity every single year for over a decade. So here's the final verdict. The net works. AMF tracks every single one of them. But before I hit transfer, let's address the elephant in the room. I'm an Indian guy. I grew up right here in Coimbatore. We've got our own poverty, our own struggles. So why am I taking 2 lakhs of Indian money and sending it to sub-Saharan Africa? It's a completely fair question, and here's an honest answer. India has actually done an incredible job with this disease. We have cut local malaria by over 80% since 2015. But right now, roughly 95% of all malaria deaths across the globe happen in Africa. Most of them children. That's where the biggest, most brutal funding gap is. When you give money away, the method can't just be what feels closest. The question has to be, where does one single rupee prevent the most amount of suffering? A life saved is equally valuable wherever it is on the map. And right now, the map says that the marginal rupee goes much further there. So now let's run the final numbers. I'm transferring 2 lakh rupees to the Against Malaria Foundation. At today's exchange rate, that buys just over 1,000 nets. And because AMF's data shows that about 1.8 people sleep under each net on average, this single transfer puts an invisible chemical wall over more than 2,000 people for the next 3 years. This money won't cure malaria forever, but it stops thousands of cases of one of the most brutal diseases there is. So if you want to help fight the most deadliest animal on earth, the direct link to the Against Malaria Foundation and GiveWell is in the description below. Even 500 rupees buys a few nets, enough to protect an entire family for 3 whole years. I spent 6 years getting my net worth to go up to 1 crore. Turns out the most interesting thing I'll ever do is watch it go back down to 0 on purpose. If you all want to know the story behind all this, how I made this money and why I'm giving it all away, click the video you can see on the screen right now. I'll see you in episode 2. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.